The master bedroom of the house. This was one of the first rooms that were built, this one and the one behind it. The gun on the wall belonged to Mr. Hoffman. The bed is a bed typical of the time that the house was built and used. The original room in this room in the house was wallpapered, so when they reconstructed the house, they used wallpaper again. In the corner was built by Mr. Hoffman, and that's where he did his paperwork. On the desk is a Aladdin lamp, which is one of the better kerosene lamps. When the house was reconstructed on this lot, the builders built the fireplace here. They built it above the floor, which was not usually done in the olden days. They used the fireplace to sweep their dust and things from the floor in. The mantel is not original to the house, but it was one that was from this era. The clock on the mantel belonged to the Hoffman family. It is one of the clocks that were of that era too. The furnishings in this room are from the American oak Victorian era, and the dresser was purchased in Pittsburgh, but it was not original to the Hoffman house. The wash bowl and pitchers on the dresser were something that the people used in those days. They had no running water, so they had to use these. There's another kerosene lamp on the dresser. In the corner here is a sewing machine. It is not original to the house, but it's a very interesting machine. When you open up, the head of the machine comes up, and to get to the treadle, you have to open the door down here. That makes it ready to use. This is another bedroom. It was used as the boys' bedroom, and at one time had two beds in here. And the furniture on the other wall was of that time period, but it came from a house out in the country here. There were two closets in this room which were used by the boys, and they were not original to the house. But when they reconstructed the house, they left them in so they could use them for the heating and cooling systems for the house. This chair was an original cane-bottom chair, but has been redone with, it looks like a small rope, and there's a shoe last there by it where they did their shoe repairs. This stove was bought for the house when it was reconstructed. It was pictured in a 1908 Sears catalog for $14.95. Of course, this one cost $2,950. They've been testing this stove today and are parching some peanuts in the oven. The table in the corner contains several kitchen utensils that were used during that era. There's also another kerosene lamp on the table, and I see a bar of lye soap. That was the typical soap that they used. This table and chairs, the dining set, was original to the Hoffman family dining room. The tables and chairs were made in Paris, Texas. The oak sideboard lost my place. The oak sideboard was made in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and it was typical of this era too. The safe on the other wall was typical of the era. There's a tea kettle on the floor by the stove. That was what they used to heat. Kitchen cabinet is known as a possum belly cabinet because of the bends, the shape of the bends on the bottom. Now on the top of it is some dried beans and corn, some cloths for drying dishes, a rolling pin, and a wooden bowl where they made their biscuit, some crockware utensils on the top of it, and inside they have some canned goods. This is a close-up view of some of the utensils on the table that we saw earlier. On the side of the table, there's a food chopper. They use that mainly, I think, to make sausage when they killed hogs. This shelf has the wash pan, the bucket with the dipper, and this is where they came out every morning to wash the sleep out of their eyes. It's where the farm hands came in to wash for mealtime. And it's also a place out here where the men would shave in the morning. We have a mirror and a shaving mug and shaving equipment on the shelf there. And then over here we have a towel made out of a sack. Then we have a kerosene can down here where they brought in the kerosene to fill the lamps. I forgot to tell you that we're on the back porch now, and we have in the corner over there a quilt box, and the door you see over there by that goes into the dog trot, which is now a hallway. Most farm homes had a swing on their porch, and where this house was originally, this faced east, which made a good shady place to swing in the afternoons. I think the women usually use this swing to shell peas or do things, fix their vegetables for canning or cooking. Can't see that. Look at it. This is a switch cane broom made used to sweep the yards with. The water bucket on the shelf was used for lots of things, but the last one that used, or the one who used the last of the water, was the one that had to go to the well, draw the water, fill the bucket, and bring it back. And when they got through washing their hands in the wash pans, they would throw that water on the flowers that were growing around the porch. This room was for the grandfather while he was still living, but after he died, they built a bathroom. That was after we had running water, and they built a bathroom in this room. But when we did the reconstruction, we did it back as the grandfather's room. This is the well that the family used for their water. You'll notice that there's flowers growing on the shed over it. There's a gourd dipper hanging on the post where they could get a drink of water, fresh water from the well. All of the water used by the family had to be drawn out of this well. The water for drinking, for bathing, for cooking, for washing. So it took many buckets of water to fulfill the needs of the family. When the women got ready to wash, they had to draw water out of the well to fill their tubs. They used a rub board and they used lye soap to wash their clothes with. They washed in one tub, rinsed in another, and maybe another too. But the white clothes they put in the wash tub to boil. After they got the white clothes washed, they would put them in the wash pot to boil to keep them white. Stick on top of the wash pot was used to keep the clothes punched down in the water and then to lift them out of the hot water when they were finished. The wash pot was also used for rendering lard and for making the lye soap. The family had a lot of uses for most all their utensils. This is an outhouse or privy, which was used by the family since they didn't have indoor plumbing at that time. You'll notice the morning glories growing around the top of the building. The windmill is not typical of this part of the country, but this one did come from the eastern part of the county. If you'll notice the red thing at the bottom of the wire, that goes up and down, and when it was used, they had a pump that pumped the water out for the livestock. And some families had a big container for the water for use in the house. This is the smokehouse, which was used to cure the meat for the family. After they killed their hogs, they cut it up and they used a box with salt to put it in first, and after that they hung the hams and sausage and bacon up in the top of the building. They built a hickory smoke fire underneath to hickory smoke the meat. They also used this to store canned goods in. This was a shed on the side of the smokehouse. It was used to store some of the farm equipment in. There's some tools on the wall. And at one time, Mr. Hoffman probably had a buggy in this shed. This is a garden spot which was planted in the spring. They had 3 rows of corn, some beans that were planted here, and you can still see that the cotton where it was planted, there's sunflower stalks down at the end of the cotton rows. They made some big sunflowers, and on the other side of the cotton, between there and the fence, they had wildflowers during the summer. This is a Georgia stock plow, which was used in the gardens and fields to keep the grass away from the plants. And then we have a larger plow, which was used in some of the fields. It's not typical of this area, but it shows some of the machinery that was used. There's other farm machinery on over by the barn. This pavilion was built for the use of the museum. They have demonstration type things here, and also gatherings for meetings and picnics and so forth, and it's used quite a bit. The pavilion has a restroom and also has a storage room. It has lights, fans for cooling, and this is used for demonstrations for children and for meetings for the museum. This is the barn, which was built about the same time as the house, so it's over 100 years old. The upper part of the barn was used to store hay and forage, and under that they stored the corn. On the right of that was the tack room where they stored tools for the farmer. Harness for the farmer. There's a basketball goal on the barn where the boys practice basketball. Then on the other side, there's some more tools on the wall of the barn, some post hole diggers and other things. And then at the far left is the stable. This barn was built with heavy timbers. It was at least 4 inches thick. They built it to last a long time, and it has. In the storage shed, we have an old syrup mill, which I'm sure made lots of ribbon cane syrup. Then there's a stalk cutter. And behind that is an old hay baler. There's a stalk cutter, and then behind that is an old hay baler. And it mule-powered hay baler. And it took 5 men to operate it. On this side of the barn is the lot. This is typical of these farm houses. It's fenced in, and during the pioneer days, they had some livestock in this place. Then they had another fence, a metal fence out beside it with some goats. The children really enjoyed seeing all of these animals.
Hurry. Okay, we don't have a lot of chickens at the farmstead, but we do have 2 pullets and 1 rooster, and he does enough crowing for the whole bunch. And one of the hens is setting. We're going to have to get her some baby chickens, but they've been laying faithfully every day. We get 2 eggs a day, so can't ask for anything more. But the rooster's got to where he fights, so we have time trying to get in there to get the eggs. But anyway, all the farmers' wives had chickens. That was where they made their spending money, selling the eggs to the peddler. This rooster's a mixed up with white leghorn in Rhode Island, or maybe a little banny.
Gourds were planted on this fence in the early summer, and they have some dipper gourds and some dish rag gourds, and there's still many of them on the vines. This one is a dish rag gourd. The dish rag gourd, when it matures, the shell comes off and it leaves the inside looks more like a scrubber that you can scrub pots and pans with, and that's the reason they call it a dish rag gourd. We've shown many of the children here those gourds, and they are surprised at how it feels. They say you can use it for dishwashing, and for bathing. This is a dipper gourd. That's the way they made the dippers, to hang by the well and on the porch with the bucket. We had many gourds growing up this tall tree. We're back in the general store at the Farmstead Museum where the tours end. We wanted to tell you that on opening day, June the 10th of this year, we had about 700 people to come through. It was free that day, and we had it from 10 to 4, I believe. Then on Pioneer Days, we had about 400 people. Over 400 people. And there have been many school children from other towns as far away as Longview and Mount Pleasant, New Boston, and other places who have come through. We think there's been about 1,000 school children to tour this museum. We hope you enjoyed the tour. Come back to see us.